Okay, friends, the first thing we're starting with on this project is a pencil drawing. This project is going to last 2 weeks. It's going to be a 2-part lesson. This week we're going to be drawing and doing our oil pastel work, and the next week we'll be doing some of the painting work. So the first thing we're going to start with is we're going to be drawing the pumpkin in the middle. Now, the pumpkin is not exactly a circle, of course. We're going to start with kind of an oval shape in the middle. That's going to be our first shape. That oval shape in the middle. And I'm kind of drawing this lightly, but I'll draw it darker so that you can see it a little better. That is like the middle front of our pumpkin. Now, on both sides, we're going to make the next 2 kind of curved pieces to finish off the pumpkin. From right here, you're going to kind of go out, then down, curve, and then the bottom just kind of curves right back up into the middle piece. Now, we're going to do that twice on each side. So we're going to do one more, and it's slightly smaller. And then we're going to come over here and do the same thing. And you know, pumpkins are not always perfect, so you don't have to make these look perfect. We're going to curve and then come back in. Okay, that's our pumpkin. Now we need to do the stem of the pumpkin. The stem of the pumpkin is going to be right here in the middle. It's going to go curve, come back to the middle, curve. And I'm going to move my paper just a little bit for this. Now, this, I know normally we would just connect it with a straight line across, but you're able to see the top. So we want to make it 3D, which means we're going to connect it with an oval so that you can see the top part of the stem. That gives it a little bit of dimension. Okay, now we only have just a few more things to do with this drawing. One, we've got to distinguish between the grass and the sky. Since we are looking at Van Gogh's Starry Night, I want us to make it more sky than grass. So we're going to put our horizon line kind of low. So we're just going to put our line right there. And you know the horizon line is where the sky meets the grass. So everything below the horizon line down here is going to be grass. Everything above the horizon line is going to be sky. So the top of our drawing, we want our drawing to be similar to Van Gogh's Starry Night. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to put a moon over here. If you notice, looks like a sad face line or a rainbow. Then we're going to do another rainbow line to make the moon. Then we're going to make some swirls, just like in Van Gogh's Starry Night. Over here, we're going to go curve down. This is going to kind of be an S curve with a spiral on the end. So we're going to go down, then back up, and then back down. You see how it looks like, if you turn it, it looks like the letter S. Then we're going to turn this into a spiral. You know the spiral keeps getting smaller and smaller. Then I'm just going to make that shape. Add just a little bit to that shape. Now, this one, we're going to do another spiral on this side. Obviously, it's going to be a little smaller. I'm going to start right here, Go down, up, and then you're going to make your spiral shape. Then I'm going to kind of come back with the spiral like this. Instead of it being a line, I'm making it kind of a shape. Okay, so that is our basic concept, basic drawing for what we need to do. Our next step, we are going to go back with our black. These are my oil pastels. I found my black oil pastel. Or you actually could use, actually I think I'm going to use the dark brown. You can use black or dark brown for this, but I think I'm going to use the brown because I think it will blend in better with the other colors for the pumpkin. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to outline what we drew. I'm going to outline the pumpkin only. We're only working on the pumpkin right now. Try to use the edge of your oil pastel. If you use you can see they're flat on the top. If you use the top, that's going to make it really wide. But if you use the edge, it won't make it super wide. Now, I'm going to pick 2 different greens. Now, let's see here. I have 1, 2, 3. I have like 4 different greens, so that shouldn't be a problem. I'm going to pick a light green, and I'm going to pick this green right here, this darker. Actually, no, I think I'm going to pick this one. So I have 2 greens right here. For the bottom, since Van Gogh made a pattern with the swirls, we're going to make a pattern on the bottom too. And this pattern is really super easy. You're going to start with your light green, and you're going to go 1, 2, 3 vertical lines, and then 1, 2, 3 horizontal lines. Okay? Then under that, we're going to change it up. So we're under the vertical, we're going to do 1, 2, 3 horizontal lines, and then take your light color, 1, 2, 3 vertical. See how that makes a pattern? We're going to keep doing that for the entire bottom. You actually, if it might be easier for you just to go straight down. So the first row is going to be vertical, horizontal, vertical. Next up is horizontal. So we do 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then we'll start the next row. Vertical, horizontal, vertical. Now we have to finish that whole bottom part. Okay, so I'm gonna speed this up. You can pause the video, and then I'll see you in a minute. Okay, now we've got to work on the sky. One thing that I left off, we've got to put some stars in here, and the way we're going to do that, we're just going to put some little dots, not very many. I have space right here, so I'm going to put one little dot there. I'm going to put one here. I'm going to put a few on the sides, and maybe one over here by the moon. But that's all that I'm doing. Now, the first thing that we want to do, we're going to work on those stars. So I'm going to get my yellow and my white. Now, if you need to clean your oil pastels, if yours are like mine, you can probably see how dirty they are. And when you draw with them, they make other colors, whatever's already stuck on there. All you do is just draw on an old piece of paper, okay? That cleans them right off. Okay, so everywhere that you drew a dot for a star, you're just going to make a little white circle. You're not really going to be able to see this until we paint, but you'll be able to tell if you did it. Draw your little white circle. Then with your yellow oil pastel, and you'll notice you probably have more than one color yellow. You can use either, whichever one you want to use. It's fine with me. You can use both for that matter. Now, we're going to make our lines like Vincent van Gogh. We're going to make in circles around. So I'm just around that little dot that I made, I'm making some circles. And you know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm even going to use the light yellow too. I'm going to use both of them. They're very similar, but they're not exactly the same. So then each one of these white dots, we're going to make some circles around it. It doesn't have to be a complete circle either. You can probably see that I'm kind of making my lines broken. You can go back and forth for some variety. Okay. Now, I've got 2 more of those to do. Okay, my stars are done, so we can put our yellows away. And then we're going to get our blues out. Now, I actually have lots of blues, but I'm going to use the light blue and the dark blue. Then, oh, you know what? Grab your yellow again. We forgot to color in the moon. You're just going to color the moon in solid. Outline it in yellow and then color it in. That's all you do. Okay, now we can move on to the blue. Now, I'm going to use the light blue and I'm going to use the dark blue. Now, Vincent van Gogh, whenever he was making his swirls, he used strokes of paint to do that. He did not, it wasn't a perfect line. So you want to kind of trace the lines that you made, but at the same time, they don't have to be perfect lines. You can make a broken line. Okay, so I've got one, but then I'm going to go back and I'm just going to add some more lines to that. And you see, my lines are not perfect at all. We just want some swirls in our drawing. There we go. We're going to do the same thing over here. If you need to turn your paper too, sometimes that helps whenever you're creating, to spin your paper around so that you're not having to move your wrist to some crazy position. Okay, I think I have my swirls done. So I'm going to put those blue oil pastels away. And then we've got to work on the pumpkin. Now, the pumpkin is going to be a different technique. Our whole background, you still see a lot of white space. That white space, we're going to come back and paint that white space. The oil pastels, we're going to do an oil resist, which means the watercolor is not going to go on that oil pastel. The oil pastel is going to pop out and the watercolor will go on the white paper. Now, the pumpkin we're going to do a little bit different. We're only doing the pumpkin in oil pastel. So I want you to get 3 colors. I want you to get a yellow for the highlight, an orange for the pumpkin, and then a brown or kind of a reddish brown. I'm going to use this one. A reddish brown for the shadows. Okay. It depends, shadows and highlights, it depends where they are based on where the light is shining. But for our pumpkin, the shadows are going to be on the bottom. The highlights are going to be on the top because the moon is shining down on the pumpkin. So our first layer is going to be orange, and it's going to be in the middle. We're not going to color the very top. We're not going to color the very bottom. So we're going to start, and oil pastels you can put on pretty thick. The only way you can blend oil pastels is if they're pretty thick. I would suggest outlining the edge first, then coloring in the middle. Okay, so I have a pretty good layer of orange in the middle. Now I'm going to take, actually I need to clean this before I can put it away. Now I'm going to take my yellow. The part at the top is the highlight, so we're going to make it yellow. Now first outline it. Then we're going to color in. Now, once you're coloring in, when you get to that orange part, you're going to go over it just a little bit. Okay, see how I'm going over and blending those 2 colors together? If you have your orange thick enough, see, it just blends right together. Now we're going to do the same thing at the bottom. We're going to outline. And when we get to that orange, we're just going to slightly go over the edge, okay? Then I'm going to show you a technique when it's dark like this. The yellow blends super easy because it's a lighter color. The dark, you can see it doesn't blend quite as easy. So then I'm going to take the orange again and I'm going to use it as a blender. So right here on the edge where those 2 colors meet, we're going to use the orange. I'm just going to go over it, and I'm doing kind of a circle motion. There we go. It just blends it right together, moves that pigment around. Okay, we're going to do that for all of the pumpkin. So this one, start again, do orange in the middle, and then blend the top and blend the bottom. Okay, the last thing we have to do is the stem. And I'm going to use that same reddish color to color in the stem. Reddish brown. And then the top, the very top, since the light would be shining on it, I'm going to do just a lighter brown color. And I may even add a little bit of that right there. Okay, there we have it. Our pumpkin is all colored with highlights on the top, shadows on the bottom. We have a beautiful pattern, which means it is a repeating shape or line. Then we have our Starry Night swirls in the top. Now, our next step is going to be to paint our piece of artwork, but we'll be doing that next week. I hope you have a great week. Don't forget to submit your progress.